International Business, Masters of Commerce, second semester, Mangalore University, session 13. In this session, you are going to learn about the globalization debate. Learning objective to discuss about the globalization debate. Session outcome to the students are able to understand about the pros and cons of the globalization debate. The globalization debate. The globalization debate continuum is anchored by the following views. The proponents generally view globalization as an opportunity for economic growth and prosperity, whereas the opponents perceive it as a threat to prosperity, political sovereignty, cultural integrity, and the environment. In developed countries, the primary concerns are the potential job loss for workers and the risk of contracting industries. Developed countries worry about the political sovereignty and losing control of their economies. Disagreement over the definition of globalization impedes the debate. As Champlin and Olson noted, the debate cannot be resolved not because we lack the definitive econometric analysis, but because the debate is defined or framed in different ways. Is it simply an argument about the virtues of free markets and supply and demand, or does it include the broader socio-cultural and environmental impact? Some definitions of globalization focus solely on cross border trade. For example, globalization as the absence of borders and barriers to trade between the nations, the International Monetary Fund describes globalization as the growing economic interdependence of countries worldwide through the increasing volume and variety of cross border transactions in goods and services and of international capital flows, and also through the more rapid and widespread diffusion of technology. Unquote. All these definitions convey a sense of dynamic change and boundarylessness. They portray the outcomes of globalization too narrowly. Brown and Renneck defines globalization as, quote, interconnections between the overlapping interests of business and society, a definition that acknowledges the broader context in which the globalization takes place, unquote. The impact of globalization on equality. On the positive side, On the positive side, globalization has resulted in increased access to more goods for consumers in many countries, reduced prices due to competition with local monopolies, and increased food supply due to industrial agriculture in some countries. Poor people in some countries have been able to buy cheaper imported goods rather than shoddy goods produced by local monopolies. Globalization increased the economic growth and improved the incomes of both rich and poor people. The researchers claim that the number of people living in poverty today would be even greater without globalization. A look at the statistics on equality indicates that globalization has resulted in both winners and losers, which is supported by economic analysis of income levels. According to one expert estimate, 30 to 40% of the world population has benefited from globalization, whereas the rest has not. Globalization is blamed for increasing the chasm between new groups of haves and have nots, between the well educated and the poorly educated, between the technologically skilled and the unskilled, and between those living in countries that compete successfully in the global economy and those who do not. Globalization has in developing countries creating another group of winners depending on the level of wages they receive. Some developing countries have suffered job losses in local industries that could not compete with foreign multinationals once formerly protected markets were opened. S- Some critics believe that the structure of the global economy favors the developing countries over the lesser developed countries. There is more inequality among and within the countries today than in the past. Between 1870 and 1990, the gap in per capita income between the rich and the developing countries has grown fivefold. The gap between the richest and the poorest 20% of the world population has widened significantly since 1960, when the income ratio of the richest of the poorest was 30 is to 1 and 82 is to 1 in 1995. There are 1.2 billion people living on less than $1 per day, as per the United Nations Development in the year 2001, a figure that is increasing rather than diminishing. The richest 20% of the world population receives 86% of the world's GDP, 82% of the export trade, and 68% of the FDI. The lowest 20% receives only 1% of each. A total of 358 people own as much wealth as 2.5 billion own together nearly half of the world population. The global income of the poorest 20% of the world dropped from 2.3% to 1.4% of the world GDP between 1989 and 1998. In virtually all developed countries, the gap between skilled and unskilled workers in wages and or not unemployment rates have widened. It is surprisingly to discover that the inequality between the rich and poor is more than any countries in the world. The worth of the average hourly rate is 12% lower than it was in 1973, whereas the average pay for a US CEO is 200 times higher, that is $7.4 million in 2002 and almost half of the average 2000 average. The average tax income of the richest 1% of the US household increased 72% from 1977 to 1994, whereas that of the poorest 20% of the US household decreased by 16%. As in other countries, some parts of the US have prospered from globalization, whereas other regions struggled to keep it up. The Silicon Valley, for example, benefited from globalization until the recent economic downturn. Since 2001, employment has decreased 20%. Previously, developed countries were concerned about losing the blue collar jobs, but the next wave of globalization is shifting white collar jobs, highly trained knowledge workers, and service jobs offshore to less expensive labor markets in Asia, Latin America, and Eastern Europe. Although globalization may not be the only factor involved in growing social inequality, it does seem safe to conclude that it has produced winners and losers on both the individual and country levels. The impact of globalization on labor condition. Some workers in lesser developed countries have received more education and training from multinational companies due to globalization. Furthermore, there is some evidence that increased competition has resulted in upgrading the educational systems to produce a more highly qualified workforce. The threat of job displacement is one of the most tangible concerns that critics have regarding globalization. Workers have more employment opportunities in some countries, but they have less in others, where certain industries and firms have been put out of business by global competition. The increasing imports from low wage countries are perceived by some as a threat to manufacturing jobs in industrialized countries, particularly in labor intensive sectors. It threatens hard won improvements in labor conditions. Organization and Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) study found that a positive correlation between successfully sustained trade reforms and improved core labor standards because multinationals tend to pay higher than average wages to attract better workers in developing countries. Furthermore, the majority of global FDI went to developed countries which generally boast the higher labor standards during the 1990s. Globalization critics worry about the dynamics that occur when firms in developed nations with high wages transfer their manufacturing or processing operations to low cost, lesser developed countries. Such transfers can be advantageous for the lesser developed countries, the recipients of new jobs, and the firms when less developed countries compete against one another to attract the foreign employers to free trade zones or export processing zones. However, the critics fear this will degrade the labor condition. 5 of the 11 nations examined in the US Department of Labor study restricted their citizens' labor rights in export processing zones by allowing the foreign firms to ignore the national labor laws that were enforced elsewhere in the country, which supports the race to the bottom argument. According to some sources, export processing zone workers are often temporary workers who are fired and rehired as needed to avoid having to provide them with benefits or career paths. When zone workers complain about working conditions, they may be fired. The exploitative practices most commonly cited in export processing zones and outsourced factories are child labor, hazardous and unhealthy working conditions, absence of collective bargaining, repression of labor unions, and forced overtime. Labor union advocates and others fear that exploitative practices in low wage exporting countries artificially depress the labor costs, leading to unfair competition advantages in world markets and a downward pressure on labor standards in rich countries. The onset of globalization served as a trigger event in some companies, a wake up call that people must work more efficiently and more intelligently, which resulted in increased productivity. The threat of globalization has, however, also been held over workers' heads. Interestingly, other aspects of globalization, worldwide telecommunication, and the internet have contributed to calls for basic labor standards. The increased publicity and the communication about poor working conditions in other countries, which is known as the CNN effect, has resulted in greater pressure from human rights groups and labor unions. The threat of internet driven international boycotts of goods made by offending multinational exerts a counterbalancing force for better labor practices in some cases. Companies that engage in exploitative practices are subject to boycotts, negative publicity, and loss of both goodwill and revenue. To avoid bad publicity, firms like Nike, Mattel, and Levi Strauss have established guidelines and invited monitors to inspect their operations. In some, there is both positive and negative evidence concerning the impact of globalization on labor conditions. The impact of globalization on governments. Historically, governments played a major role in promoting their country's economic development and managing its economy, although in quite varied forms. Today, however, some critics argue that government matters less and less in a global economy. The political boundaries that define nation states place them at a disadvantage when confronting with unique pressures of a boundaryless global economy. There is a jurisdictional asymmetry between an economic system composed of centrally controlled transnational MNEs on one hand and a political system structured into geographically defined sovereign states on the other. Yergin and Stanislaw argued, quote, information technology through computers is creating a woven world by promoting communication, coordination, integration, and a contact at a pace and scale of change that far outrun the ability of any government to manage. On the positive side of the ledger, for some governments, globalization has resulted in expanded infrastructure, more jobs, and more economic development for their citizens. Certain countries have benefited from the transfer of modern, more effective management techniques to their business sector. The increased interdependence of trading investment partners will draw countries closer together and serve as a deterrent against war. On the negative side, MNEs have exerted pressure on governments in several ways. International competitiveness has influenced the public policy in some countries by encouraging government officials to lower the labor standards because governments may view themselves in competition with others in a race to the bottom to attract the MNEs to their country. Foreign firms can have the upper hand in negotiations unless governments have something unique to offer. Singapore, for example, invested heavily in education, attracting high tech and professional industry rather than limiting its population to employment in low wage factories. George Soros criticized globalization for making the provision of private goods more important than public goods such as peace, eradication of poverty, the protection of human and labor rights, and the environment. Government of developed countries with extensive entitlements social security systems, healthcare programs, and unemployment pay or welfare systems are experiencing greater pressure to decrease the expenditure because they raise the rate of the corporate taxation. The blueprint of economic development promoted by the International Monetary Fund and World Bank decreased the role of government with calls for privatization, deregulation, and reduction of corporate trade and capital gains taxes. Not only did this make some government functions irrelevant, but it also left governments with less money in their reserves. Governments have fewer funds available as a result of the corporate taxes. The proportion has decreased as a percentage of the local total revenues in the US, and it has also decreased the relative to the share of corporate profits in all of the organization of economic cooperation and developed countries. Globalization makes it more difficult for the government to exercise their regulatory powers and maintain their autonomy and independent decision making. There is widespread agreement that governments are not designed or structured to deal with the problems of global business, particularly problems like global warming and environmental degradation that have accompanied economic development partially to fill this gap. A growing number of non governmental organizations are trying to counterbalance the power of the multinational enterprises. The impact of globalization on country and on culture and community. Globalization may be a positive force for greater cross cultural understanding via more cross cultural exposure and closer cross border ties. As Tomlinson stated, quote, a world of complex connectivity thus links the myriad small everyday actions of millions with the fates of distant unknown others and even with the possible fate of the planet. Tomlinson referred to the increased connectivity of the world as a double edged sword that provides new and wider understanding at the same time that it takes away the securities of one's local world. Critics claim that globalization is creating a monoculture that is rapidly spreading around the world. MTV culture, for instance, offends social conservatives in many countries. By this view, weakened cultural traditions combined with the importation of foreign media, stores, and goods encourage cultural homogenization. Multinational news outlets like CNN and Rupert Murdoch News Corporation provoked the complaint that the flow of information is dominated by multinational entities based in the most powerful nation. The chains like the chains like Walmart, with lower prices and extensive standardized inventory, force uniquely local small stores out of business because consumers prefer the service and prices at Walmart. A sa- an economist claimed that the use of English as a language of business and in the media drives out and threatens the minority languages. As transnational corporations grow and become more powerful, there is a concern that the culture of capitalism, which is heavily influenced by Western or the US culture, and commoditization will develop into a world monoculture. Commoditization is a process by which the market capitalization transforms the things that were previously not viewed as economic goods into something with a price. No imported object, Coca Cola included, is completely immune from creolization. Indeed, one finds that Coke is often attributed with meanings and uses within particular cultures that are different from those imagined by the manufacturer. These include that can smooth wrinkles in Russia, that is, that it can revive a person from the dead. Indigenized through being mixed with other drinks such as rum in the Caribbean to make Cuba liber, or aguardiente in Bolivia to produce long negro. Finally, it seems that Coke is perceived as a native product in many different places that you will often find people who believe that drink originated in their country and not in the US. Pressures for a global monoculture are counterbalanced by greater attention and efforts to maintain ethnic identity. Karliner argued that globalization may be responsible for the increasing popularity of indigenous movements to maintain ethnic identity. Although globalization was not the only cause of Islamic revolution in Iran, it provided a target for rebellion and also forced the Muslims to identify themselves and determine how they wanted to live in a global society. The critics claim that globalization has irrevocably changed the social landscape of the communities and constitutes a threat to international culture in various ways. For example, transnational agribusiness has replaced the family farms in some areas, and cutting down the forest inhabited by indigenous people makes it difficult, if not impossible, for them to maintain their traditional way of life. Then, spread of newer cultures and technologies may result in the loss of knowledge about the traditional practices and arts more compatible with natural systems. EPZs, export processing zones, draw people from rural areas, moving them out of reach of their traditional safety nets. It is difficult to pinpoint how much of this migration from their traditional communities and ways of life can be attributed directly to globalization versus traditional economic development and a desire to better one's life. People, particularly men, have been forced to migrate to find out the find work throughout the history. The impact of globalization on environmental sustainability. Sustainability is defined as meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The moral basis for sustainability is the ethical position that destroying the Earth's future capacity to support life is wrong. Global environmental issues such as global warming, deforestation, ozone depletion, reduction in biodiversity, degradation of ocean habitats, and pollution are the key areas affected by globalization. On the positive side, globalization has caused some countries to make a narrower range of products more efficiently. In other words, it has given them a competitive advantage. It has been responsible for creating and exporting the technologies that use fewer natural resources and result in less waste and pollution. Globalization has facilitated the dissemination of practices like improved energy efficiency, lowered carbon combustion, dematerialization, substitution of resources with reduced environmental impact, and mental recovery technologies. The industrial ecology movement has sought to improve the environmental responsiveness at the same time that it reduces the global cost of production for corporation. On the negative side, because of globalization, harmful technologies and activities have also been exported. Although better technology is available, companies do not always use it because it can be highly capital intensive. Globalization is blamed as a source of pollution. For instance, industrial toxic effluents and pesticides runoff from agribusiness have destroyed the river fish. A recent study overseen by the UN Environment Programme warns of the danger of the Asian cloud, which may be causing premature death, flooding, and the drought. Not all of the 2 mile thick cloud is a direct result of increased industrialization and globalization. Traditional practices and forest clearing are also responsible in addition to automation, factories, and waste management, incineration. Since prevailing winds can carry pollution clouds around the globe, in a short period they are becoming a global environmental problem. The spread of factories around the world has made more infrastructure necessary, which requires extracted substances from the earth. Globalization provides Globalization promotes the transportation of raw materials and goods using non-renewable resources. Increased level of workers seeking jobs and by the multinational entities employs use fossil fuel and contributes to global warming. Additionally, because multinational entities have moved their operation to countries where environmental laws are absent or on are not enforced, greater environmental degradation has occurred. Some MNEs have taken the advantage of lowered environment protection to sell harmful products and abroad that are banned in more developed countries. Critics claim that Critics claim that the countries are more likely to export more commodities that increase the exploitation of natural resources. As a result of globalization, there are numerous examples of environmental degradation, such as deforestation, threat to biodiversity, and depletion of fish stocks. Some of these problems stem from inappropriate use or trawl fishing, inappropriate use or overuse, whereas others involve inappropriate modern technology such as modern trawl fishing that scraps the bottom of the seabed and disturbs the breeding grounds. Deforestation and technological innovation in agriculture have also resulted in habitat damage and extension of species. In 1992, the GATT and annual report laid out the argument that increased trade will produce increased income, which will then result in more concern about the environment. However, worried that globalization will encourage greater consumption. As more goods are marketed to more people, creating artificial needs and using more natural resources. Although globalization theoretically should result in general efficiency in production, it has it has caused more surplus and scarcity, which points to a less than perfect use of resources. It would be impossible to calculate the total impact of globalization on the environment, but there is a growing body of evidence documenting its harmful effects. To conclude, the current debate raging of globalization and the explosion of publication on this topic reflect the importance. The phenomenon has gained a in the recent years. When we expand the boundaries of the debate beyond the merits of free trade, a picture emerges of globalization as an uneven process that has resulted in both positive and negative consequences, both winners and losers. Thus, the quick answer to the question, what is the impact of globalization? Is it's mixed. Given the complexity and scope of the topic, it is difficult to determine the precision whether some of the problems linked to globalization would exist independently and to what degree. We can conclude, however, that globalization in its current state often involves serious trade offs such as economic development and jobs at the cost of environmental degradation and weakened labor protection. One important lesson is to include these trade offs is in the debate and in calculating the total cost of global business. Where people stand with regard to these trade offs often depends on their values and mindsets. In particular, their beliefs regarding the free markets, government intervention, and the importance of local versus global concerns and individualist versus communitarian views about the common good. Understanding these differences is basic assumption in the first step in creating a civil discourse on the topic. Although business people may disagree with anti globalization protesters, rhetoric or tactics, another key lesson is that some of their criticisms are valid and should be taken into consideration. Another, the accounting systems used by the governments and business discourage a system's perspective. As long as accounting system fail to take into consideration the environmental and social cost of doing business, firms can look good while doing a fair amount of harm to the larger society. One interesting response to globalization is the US UN Global Compact. This initiative, led by the Secretary General Kofi Annan, consists of a global network of companies, non governmental organizations, major international labor federations, and several UN agencies. Its objective is to create a more stable, equitable, and inclusive global market by making in some principles which involve human rights, labor standards, and environmental practices are an attempt to establish a universal standard. Principle 1 tells us support and respect the protection of international human rights within their sphere of influence. Principle 2 makes sure their own corporations are not complicit in human rights abuses. Principle 3 uphold freedom of association and the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining. Fourth, uphold the elimination of all forms of forced and compulsory labor. Principle 5 uphold the effective abolition of child labor. Principle 7 uphold the elimination of discrimination in respect of employment and occupation. 7 support a precautionary approach to environmental changes. 8 undertake initiatives to promote greater environmental responsibility. Ninth, encourage the development and diffusion of environmentally friendly technologies. The Global Compact is attempting to build shared values and create a forum for dialogue and institutional learning that will result in social change. In addition to recruiting companies who agree to integrate with the nine principles into their business operations, the program's goals are to establish a learning bank that shares lessons on applying the principles, conduct issues, dialogues, and generate partnership projects among the different stakeholders. Such partnerships would theoretically decrease the polarization among various groups. The architects of the Global Compact believe that it will be part of the solution to globalization problems but do not view it as a definitive solution. To date, 700 companies have voluntarily joined the compact. The global economy is not an act of God, like a virus or a volcano, but the result of the economic actions taken by human beings and thus responsive to human control. There is no need to say American economists and business people do, that the market knows best and must be obeyed. This cultural capitalism is confined mostly to the US and other English speaking nations. Other nations in Europe and Asia also see the market as the source of both bountiful benefits and lethal damage and are determined to temper this force to their own priorities. Thank you.